Good afternoon to one and all present here. It's my privilege to welcome our speaker for the session 5, Dr. MP Selvan, to give his presentation on the topic Inverter Topologies for Single Phase Microgrid. Dr. MP Selvan is currently an associate professor in the Electrical and Electronics Engineering Department, National Institute of Technology, Tiruchirappalli, India, where he is associated with Hybrid Electrical Systems Laboratory. He is a life member of ISTE, Fellow of Institution of Engineers India, Senior member of IEEE. He holds a PhD degree from IIT Madras. He has 20 years of teaching and research experience in the field of power systems. He has published more than 135 technical research papers in various national, international conferences and journals. His research interests include demand response and P2P energy transactions in smart grid, distributed generation and microgrid, distribution generation and customer power devices, power system analysis, operation and control. He investigated 4 research projects sponsored by DST, Power Grid, National Institute of Wind Energy and Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, worth of rupees 87.73 lakhs, and presently involved in a Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India funded project on wireless sensor node for online data transfer of parameters from electrical machines and drives, with a budget of rupees 55.44 lakhs. He supervised 4 PhD and 2 MS scholars and co-supervised 4 PhD scholars. Presently, he is a counselor of IEEE student branch of NIT Tiruchirappalli and Associate Dean Electrical in the Office of Dean Planning and Development. He is also holding an Indian patent. He has co-authored 3 book chapters. Sir, we are very happy to have you here, sir. Now we request you to give your speech, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Manila, for giving a brief introduction. And very good afternoon to all the participants who have gathered here after lunch. I will not make you to sleep. I will try to make you to be alert by asking a few questions in between. Please be interactive. Okay, now I am going to share my screen. Hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So this workshop is on, FDP is on global warming and impacts of power electronics towards green technology. So when we think about global warming, actually we would like to reduce global warming. Of course, when you want to reduce global warming, we should avoid emitting greenhouse gases, toxic gases such as carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, methane, all those things, sulfur dioxide. When we wanted to avoid emitting all those gases from a power plant, we should not burn fuel. So when we want to avoid burning fuel, we have to depend on renewable energy, right? So all of you know about renewable energy and the challenges behind that. Renewable energy technologies are intermittent in nature. in producing electric power. Most of the dominant renewable energy technologies such as solar, wind are intermittent in nature. So we can't depend on a single source to supply a set of loads. This challenge has given birth to a word called microgrid. Instead of depending on a single source, you try to combine more than one sources to form a grid and supply a set of loads. So the concept of microgrid came. Then there was a lot of discussion. We have AC as well as DC system. Should I concentrate on AC microgrid or DC microgrid? I want to have an AC microgrid or DC microgrid. Both the configuration has its own advantages and disadvantages. All of us know, as an electrical engineer, there is always a war between AC and DC, starting from its birth. From 1882, 1890, there was a war. Finally, sometimes AC wins, sometimes DC wins. So we will not talk those things now, whether it is AC microgrid or DC microgrid. I can operate a microgrid as a DC microgrid and connect an inverter to make it as an AC microgrid. Okay. So when you combine renewable energy sources, I can combine them at the DC side and connect an inverter to make it AC. If I do not have any requirement for AC, I can work with the DC bus itself. That is going to give me a DC microgrid. Okay. So the topic of discussion today is single phase microgrid. That is going to satisfy the requirement of the FDP, global warming reduction. Microgrid will help. Microgrid with renewable energy technologies will reduce global warming. An impact of power electronics. Yes, now everywhere we have power electronics. Actually, I am from a power system background, and still I am a power system teacher. I teach only power system courses. And with respect to research, I mold myself according to the requirement of the student. If a student from power system background comes, I will orient him towards power system problem and I learn that particular problem. If a student is from power electronics background, I will learn power electronics from him and then I orient myself towards power electronics. Okay. Because we cannot avoid power electronics from power system. It is a part of power system now. Earlier, power system means machines, then transmission line and transformers, finally loads. Again, it became machines. But now, everywhere, before connecting into the grid, as well as while utilizing power from the grid, we have this power electronics. Any generator, we are connecting through power electronic devices into the grid. And the other side, I will use power electronics for motor drives. I will use power electronics for converting AC to DC or DC to AC. So we cannot avoid power electronics. So even a power system engineer should know about power electronics. That is the gift given by the God to the power system engineer. That is what I think. Right. Power electronics means they learn only power electronics. I am a power electronics expert. And if you machines, they concentrate only on machines. But the scenario is getting changed for power system engineers. We should learn about power electronics. We should learn about communication systems when we start working on smart grid. We should learn about some kind of embedded systems to work in smart meters, to work in say energy management systems. So it's a gift given by the God to power system engineer to learn many things. Okay, so here I am going to concentrate on an inverter topologies which can be used in a single phase microgrid. I can give you a explanation in the way I have understood, because as I said, I am not a power electronics expert. Okay, right. So microgrid means we have renewable energy integration, solar, wind, whatever it is, along with any one of the energy storage devices. Which can be combined and integrated at the DC bus. And if I have only DC loads, I can connect at this point itself in the DC bus itself, here itself. If I want to convert it into AC, you use an inverter, convert it into AC and connect the AC loads. Then it becomes an AC microgrid. That is one way of thinking. In another way, I can use inverter for every source, every DC source, and connect at the AC bus. Synchronize at the AC bus. That is also going to form an AC microgrid. So there is no clear-cut standard to say that this is what you have to say. We can have multiple configuration. We can have multiple configurations. We have to choose one of the configurations according to our requirement and availability, feasibility, etc. So first I tell you something on microgrid, because as I said, I am from power system background. Without telling something about power system, I will not get sleep. I'm sorry. So microgrid is a cluster of loads and distributed resources serviced by a distribution grid. Okay. So when you want to say a microgrid, the distribution network should have a group of sources and group of loads. And such a network can be operated either in grid connected mode, connected to the main grid, or it can be operated in an autonomous mode. And it should have a feasibility or capability to ride through between these two modes whenever required, from autonomous to grid connected and grid connected to autonomous. And if you look at this picture, microgrid can of any size. See, look at this picture where I have a distribution substation. From there, so many feeders are coming out, and one generator is connected at this feeder. When I connect a generator in a network with group of loads, that becomes a microgrid. So you can see every area with a different color indicated in this picture is a microgrid. This may be a single home or a single building with its own generation. That can be considered as a microgrid. And multiple loads with multiple generators distributed at various places and connected by these distribution lines. So consider this green color. It can be considered as a microgrid, or the complete including the substation, it can be considered as a microgrid. because it satisfies the statement. However, to identify whether it is in autonomous mode or non-autonomous mode, it depends upon the status of the switch. If I consider this pink color area where a lot of loads along with the generator is connected, and if this switch which I am showing here is in on status, then I say this is in grid connected mode. If it is in off state, then I can say that it is in autonomous mode. Assume this particular generator is switched off suddenly. This particular generator is switched off suddenly. Still this portion is connected to the grid. Then this area I cannot call it as microgrid, but this green color I can call it as a microgrid because it has generators, right? So without any active generation, a distribution network cannot be called as a microgrid. As I said, it can operate in autonomous and non-autonomous mode. In autonomous mode, there are some advantages as well as disadvantages. So autonomous mode, it supports customers without any grid connection. I don't need any grid connection, still I can run my loads. Autonomous microgrid can have multiple types of DGs. The problem is synchronization. When you have more number of generators, one of the generators should dominate so that other generators can follow. That is called a synchronization, right? If grid is there, I don't have any problem. Grid will take care of the synchronization. All the generators should follow the grid. All the generators should follow the grid. That is what synchronization. So it is very simple. I will follow the grid. Whatever the grid says, I will follow. Assume if grid connection is not there, but I have 4 or 5 generators, then now I have to dictate any one of the generators to take care of the grid. And if the generators are from different private operators, then there will be a competition. You need a mechanism to derive which should take care of the synchronization issue. So autonomous mode, that problem is there. Right. In non-autonomous mode, I don't have any issue. Usually I used to give an example with respect to an institute, academic institution, which is having autonomous status and non-autonomous status. An institute with non-autonomous status is very happy. I need not worry about anything. Syllabus formation, board of studies, examination, nothing I need to worry. I need to teach, that's all. Everything will be taken care by the university. I need to follow what university says. That is non-autonomous mode of operation. Easy, very easy, because a large power is available there to guide me, university. But when you come to autonomous mode, it's very difficult. You have to manage everything. You have to conduct BOS, you have to form the syllabus, where you have to satisfy the students as well as the faculty members. So you have to keep revising the syllabus. You have to conduct the examination, quality of the question paper, so many things you have to worry. Here also, in the autonomous grid also, you have to worry about power quality. Who will take care of that? Everyone will inject differently. If large grid is there, these harmonics will get smoothened out, even without any filter. So challenge is always there in the autonomous microgrid. Always hybrid operation is better. Always connect with the grid. Whenever there is a failure in the grid, you come to autonomous mode. That is advisable. The non-autonomous mode, microgrid is connected to the utility. As I said, an institute is attached with the university. On failure of DG units, the utility may serve as a reserve. If there is any problem for a DG unit, the loads will be supplied by the utility. On occurrence of fault in the utility system, microgrid will be isolated and it can operate as an autonomous mode or it can keep quiet. Customer can sell power or excess generation from DG. Yes, if grid connection is there, if we generate excess power, that can be transported to the grid and revenue can be generated. Suppose if you are not connected to the grid, if you have excess power, of course you can store, but it is not possible in the large scale. System level dynamics are dictated by the main grid. That is what a very important advantage when you have non-autonomous microgrid. Voltage, frequency will be maintained by the main grid. I will just connect it. I need to follow the main grid. But when it comes to autonomous mode, frequency will vary. You need to maintain. So you need a dedicated controller for that to maintain frequency as well as the voltage. So the dynamics will become little complicated when you have a non-autonomous mode. Autonomous mode of operation. Okay. Now we will go to the microgrid inverter. Assume I have given a microgrid which is combination of multiple sources. Though I am going to show you configurations with single source, it is applicable for systems with multiple sources. Consider here, when I talk about the inverter system for a microgrid, there are 3 different kinds of system available. You can refer this book and understand better. Centralized inverter system, string inverter system, and multi-string inverter system. I will tell you about the configurations, advantages, disadvantages, and its application. First we will see centralized inverter system. As I said, I am considering here only solar PV array. You can have multiple sources, no problem. Accordingly, we have to connect. So here I have a solar PV park, a large PV park, which I want to connect to the grid or to the load. You know, solar park is going to generate electricity in DC. I need to convert it into AC. I am having an inverter. This system is called a centralized inverter system. I will have only one inverter. I will collect all the power or all the energy generated by individual array and feed it into this. Looking at the picture, you can say easily advantage and disadvantage. What is the advantage? I need to synchronize only one inverter. So synchronization is simple. And if a grid is there, I have to follow the grid, that's all. If grid is not there, I have to generate my own reference at the required voltage and frequency. I have to produce the output. Disadvantage, if anything fails in that particular inverter, that's all. I have to close the system and keep quiet. That is the problem with the centralized inverter system. Where is it used? In large solar parks. I can go with a centralized inverter system. If I am rich, I can have one more inverter in parallel as a standby inverter in order to improve the reliability. You might have visited some substations. You can see 2 transformers kept parallelly connected to the same bus, but one of the 2 transformers will be in operation. Another one may be idle. It is for standby. If load is increasing, they may parallel both and supply the loads. Otherwise, the one transformer will be kept idle. If another transformer fails, then the complete load can be taken by this transformer. So similar arrangement can be made here also for the inverter. Only thing, you have to invest more. Whenever you want good reliability, your investment increases. You can understand, right? So this is used for mainly for large solar power plants, power parks. For example, in the smart city project of Indian government, in many cities, solar parks are getting established. And we are involved with one of the solar smart city projects, which is getting implemented in Tirunelveli city. So we have a consultancy work with that Tirunelveli city corporation. So they are implementing a 5 megawatt solar power plant at two places, 3 megawatt and 2 megawatt. 3 megawatt and 2 megawatt. Please remember the number. I will come back to the same number, 2 megawatt again. 3 megawatt and 2 megawatt. So 3 megawatt they are collecting. They are having a DC to AC inverter, a dedicated transformer which will be connected to the 11 kV network, grid connected operation. And another area, 2 megawatt solar power plant, an inverter made by ABB, which feed power to the transformer, then it is connected to a 11 kV network. So these two systems, we can consider it as a centralized inverter system. If you just browse in Google, you will get a lot of information like this. There are so many smart city projects are going on in India, particularly in Tamil Nadu. This solar power implementation is going on. Even during this pandemic situation, we had a lot of discussion about this project and inspections were done. And second one, string inverter system. So look at this picture, first one, and compare with the second one. The whole generation is splitted into multiple strings, and every string has one inverter. So now I have to synchronize all the inverters with the grid. Anyway, grid is available, so all the inverters will follow the grid. If the grid fails, then there exists a problem. If grid fails, then there is a problem. Which inverter should dominate? Because every inverter is manufactured by a company. Suppose if I have 10 strings, all the 10 inverters will have similar characteristics. So which inverter will dominate? Which inverter will form the grid? You cannot. So you need an additional controller there. You need an additional controller there to make it to dominate one inverter. Right? So here, if the grid fails, then synchronization is a challenging task. You need an additional controller to do that. But the disadvantage, if one inverter fails, no problem. Other part of the power generation will be available. That is the advantage of this string inverter system. Where is it used? Where is it used? Any guess from the participants?
I think, sorry, sir.
It is used when you are going to implement a rooftop PV system in a campus like NIT Trichy or say SRM University or in any institute. You will have PV installations. Say for same 2 megawatt, that's what I said, you should remember the number. Same 2 megawatt I want to install in my campus. Roughly, to implement 1 megawatt, we need 5 acres land. Who will give me 5 acre land inside my campus? Of course, our campus is big. We have 800 acres. Taking 5 acres is not a tedious task. We can use it. But ground mounted system inside an institute is difficult. We have a lot of students. There will be students having a tendency to enjoy with the solar system. They may throw stones, it may break. So ground mounted systems are not advisable to have inside a institute building. If it is a factory, ground mounted systems are okay. We have nearby, we have BHEL. They have implemented a 5 megawatt system mounted on ground. Nobody disturbs that. So they will go for centralized inverter system. In our case, we can only use the rooftop, right? Rooftop of various buildings. We have multiple buildings, right? For every engineering department, we'll be having one building, different labs, central library, central computing facility. So such places we can install at different sizes. Say, I want totally 2 megawatt, right? So 0.25 megawatt at one place, 0.5 megawatt at another place, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, like that I can choose 5 places. Totally I can bring 2 megawatt. But I cannot lay cable from every building and bring it to a common point and connect to the inverter, where you will lose power in the cable. You will have voltage drop in the cable when the cable runs for long distance. Instead, you think every building is already provided with AC supply, grid connected. So I can use a grid connected inverter there, just connect in that building itself, right? So mechanical building, I generate 0.5 megawatt, connect in that building AC distribution box. Electrical engineering, okay, I generate 0.2 megawatt, put an inverter, connect in that distribution box. And all the distribution box, yes? All the distribution box are connected by a ring main AC distribution system, right? So in such case, for the same 2 megawatt, I will prefer string inverter system. Okay, then third option is a multi-string inverter system, where the inverter is a single point, but we will have multiple DC-DC converter at the DC side. For one string, I will have one DC-DC converter. So in this picture, I have shown you PV array in all the string in this third picture. Of course, you can imagine when I have different sources, this multi-string inverter system will be much helpful. Because when I have multiple sources, the behavior of each source is different, and integrating those sources at the AC side will be a challenging task. Instead, we can integrate at the DC side. So here at the DC side, we can integrate all the sources and use only one inverter to feed power to the grid or load. So it has a lot of advantages as well as disadvantages similar to centralized inverter system. If the inverter fails, that's all, we have to close. Of course, I can operate it as a DC microgrid. If some loads will work with DC, okay, I can go with the DC. So, but if any source fails, no problem, I will be able to feed power. So when you form a microgrid with multiple sources, the best option is a multi-string inverter system. In order to tackle multiple sources, so we choose multi-string inverter system for doing a single phase microgrid implementation. So this is a multi-string inverter system of a single phase microgrid. It can be for 3-phase also, no problem. What I talked is a single phase microgrid, because we have done an implementation in single phase I said it is a single phase system. So it is a multi-string topology. In the DC side, I will have multiple DC-DC converters, and I can integrate so many sources at the DC bus without any difficulty, because synchronization at DC side will be much easier than synchronization at AC side. And of course, I need all these DC-DC converters because some of the sources need MPPT tracking, maximum power point tracking. Solar and wind. We cannot do any MPPT tracking with fuel cell because input is controllable. So there is no question of MPPT. If you want to control your input itself. But in solar and wind, I do not have any control over the input. So I have to always track the maximum power point. So we can track there. Then always I will have an energy storage in the microgrid. So here I am having battery energy storage. So I can charge the battery as well as discharge the battery according to the availability of the sources power. I am not going to talk about all those things. And one of these converters will take care of maintaining the DC bus voltage constant. Okay. Then other sources can exchange power. So one DC-DC converter will take care of the DC bus voltage. And if I have DC loads, you connect at the DC bus, then it becomes a DC microgrid. No, I have only AC, then I will use an inverter, make it to AC and connect all the loads. And if I want, I can connect grid. If I don't want, I can disconnect grid. So this is a grid connected microgrid inverter system. And one thing I will tell you with respect to this picture, most of the commercially available inverters which work in the string inverter system are grid following inverters. If the grid fails, the inverter doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't work means the inverter is made to not work. Don't think that inverter will not work if the grid is not there. They made controller in such a way that if grid is available, then only it should work. Otherwise, it should not work. In order to ensure that the voltage generated by the inverter is following the grid voltage. Otherwise, as I said, the problem will come. Which inverter will dominate? The problem will come. But in the other case, in the centralized inverter system or in the multi-string inverter system, if the grid fails, since I have only one inverter, I can make that inverter to generate its own reference, its voltage and frequency as per the requirement. So the inverter will work now, right? So in the autonomous mode and non-autonomous mode, I can make the system to operate very easily. Only thing, the inverter control should have two parts. One part should work when the grid is available. I can sense the availability of the grid. If the grid fails, immediately the inverter should go to the another mode of operation. It should generate its own voltage and frequency dictated by the consumer. Right? I hope you understood this. So for a microgrid configuration, we go with the multi-string inverter system. And this inverter system, now we are going to talk about this inverter alone, taking a single phase grid. Okay, when it comes to a single phase grid, what is the AC voltage we are going to use? 230 volt, no doubt at all, because all my loads are rated for 230 volt AC. That is standardized. So I need to get 230 volt at any cost at the output. What about input to the inverter? Can you tell me at what voltage I should operate this DC bus? 12 volt, 24 volt, 48 volt, 110 volt, 220. Why I am telling this number? These numbers are available in literature as well as in practice. 800 volt DC. What voltage I will operate the DC bus? It depends on the inverter what you choose. Or we have to select the inverter according to my DC bus voltage. Output is fixed to 30 volt. I am happy. The input voltage is not standardized. If you have your home inverter at your home, you just look at the input voltage. Only one battery is connected to that 12 volt system. Output is 230. Suppose if you install a rooftop solar panel in your home, they may use 4 batteries in series, 48 volt system, or 2 batteries in series, 24 volt system. Output is again 230. You go to your computer center, look at the UPS, how many batteries are connected in series at its input. Most of the UPS, more than say 5 kVA, they will have a DC input of 800 volt. That many batteries will be connected in series. They may use center tap configuration to get more voltage, to reduce number of batteries to be connected in series, but they will get more voltage. Neutral clamped configuration, right? But the voltage will be say 800 volt. Again, the output is 3 phase, it is 415. Single phase means it is 230. So different DC voltages are available. But you look at the inverter, all the inverters are not same. All the inverters are not same. So that we will discuss now. What kind of inverters we have. And if you are a power electronics person, you can just see in IEEE transactions on power electronics or relevant literature, you will get different kind of inverters available getting published in the in journals. All those inverters can be classified into three categories. One is inverters with transformer coupling. Inverters with transformer coupling, inverters without any transformer. First two major category. And in the first category, inverters with transformer, what kind of transformer is used? Either line frequency transformer or high frequency transformer. That's all. Forget about the topology, how the switches are connected, all those things. These are the major classification. Whether you have inverter with transformer or without transformer. You go to your home, open the inverter connected to your battery home inverter. Just open it and see. You will find a transformer there. You go and open an inverter which is connected to solar PV system rooftop. Open it, you will find a transformer. But you go to the institute where rooftop is installed, you open an inverter, you may not find a transformer. You go to your computer center where UPS is available. With, please remember, UPS means you don't look into 1 kVA UPS, 5 kVA or above, 10 kVA UPS. Just open, you don't find any transformer. They are all transformer-less inverters. So now you can get an idea. If the DC voltage is less, I need a transformer at the output. If DC voltage is high, I can go for an inverter without any transformer. What is the problem if I use transformer, and what is the problem if I do not use transformer? Yes? Yes. Excuse me.
If we use transformer, we can isolate from electrical parts. It is magnetically connected. We can use transformer as isolation part.
Yes, of course. You are right. That is what given here. The inverter with transformer gives you a good isolation between the grid as well as the other part of the system. And when you have transformer, it prevents DC current injection into the grid if you use a line frequency transformer. But what is the disadvantage? It is bulky. The size becomes huge and the weight of the inverter becomes high. If you compare the inverters of same capacity, a transformer based inverter will have more weight. And efficiency wise, transformer based inverters have less efficiency than transformer less inverter. But when you compare with power electronic switches, transformer is having low efficiency. We might have studied in electrical machines that transformer is having higher efficiency than other electrical machines. Of course, it is true because transformer is a static device where we do not have any frictional losses. So efficiency is good. But at the same time, when you move with a power electronic system which is having good efficiency than transformer, that is the difference between transformerless and transformer topology. So people thought, no, I want to use a transformer, but I don't want a bulky transformer. Then you can go with high frequency based topology. Inverters based on high frequency transformer. Still, there will be an injection of DC current into the grid. In line frequency we can avoid, but in high frequency it is not possible. Several power stages will be required in the high frequency based inverter. And of course, I am not against that high frequency based inverter. That is one kind of topology available, but it is not suitable for the microgrid application. That is what I am stressing here. So another point is, without any transformer, I don't want to use transformer at all. Leave it. Then definitely there will be a current, ground leakage current, DC current injection into the grid when you directly connect, because there is no isolation, but it has high efficiency, less weight. But what is the requirement? Basic requirement when you don't want to use transformer, the basic requirement is you got to use high DC voltage. When you use high DC voltage, you are losing your safety. That's why for home inverter we use only 12 volt. Home rooftop system we use 48 volt, not more than that. But in UPS computer center we use 800 volt, and the batteries will be kept in a separate room and showing a danger symbol at its entrance, because it's a high voltage which is dangerous. 800 volt, if you touch according to your body nature, you may get a shock and even die. That depends on your body resistance. That possibility is less with 12 volt. 12 volt divided by your body resistance, 800 volt divided by your body resistance. Think about the current what is going to flow. That is going to decide whether you are going to live or die after touching the battery terminals. So low voltage is safer to handle. That's why even distribution voltage is 110 at USA, and we have 230 volt, which is higher, which is dangerous. But we followed Britain standard, So we are following the same voltage levels, frequency, etc. Okay. So now the question is whether you are going for transformer based inverter or transformer less inverter, whether you are going for high voltage DC or low voltage DC. So these two are contradicting in nature. Always low voltage DC is safer, then you need to use a transformer where your efficiency should be given trade-off. No, I want good efficiency, then go with an inverter having no transformer. But at the same time, you have to look into the DC voltage, you need higher DC voltage, where you are going to lose your safety. Safety means you have to take more precaution. You have to close the place. You should not give permission to anyone to enter into that particular place, all those things. Correct? Okay. So again, there is no standard till now to dictate, as we have to choose according to our requirement. So when you think about this microgrid configuration, okay, low DC voltage and with transformer, I am satisfied. So we go with this first option, very simple option, line frequency transformer based coupling. And we can go with a low voltage because safety is important. Microgrid can be implemented in a home or in a building. So safety is very much required. And when you have a solar PV and you want to generate high voltage, you have to connect so many panels in series. And people who work on shading problem can tell. Connecting more panels in series will give you a lot of issues. Partial shading will deteriorate the power generation. So it is better to have parallel connection. Of course, we can't avoid series connection of panel, but we can minimize number of panels to be connected in series when you prefer a low voltage DC system. So mainly the selection of inverter will be based on DC bus voltage level. For low DC voltage, you go for a transformer with, you go for an inverter with transformer. If you have high DC voltage, you can prefer transformer less topology. I will show you the circuit diagram of different topologies. Yeah, this is the first one, low voltage DC, which is getting converted into high voltage DC using high frequency transformer, and then high voltage AC using an inverter. So here high frequency transformer is used, which is expensive, first thing, though it is less weight, it is expensive, and you need to have different kinds of switches. You need to have controllers for this for pulse generation. Of course, it is good at power electronics level. They have given a new topology for the inverter. But do I need that for my microgrid? I have to think, right? So this configuration will be an expensive when you compare with a normal configuration. So I may not have that many advantages in this. This is second configuration where DC is converted into high frequency AC with the help of these switches and a high frequency transformer. Then by using matrix converter, I can convert high frequency AC into fundamental frequency AC and connect to the grid. But I need a matrix converter. You think about a matrix converter. This topology successfully works. I'm not commenting on the topology, but do I need that for a microgrid? Because it is a complicated structure. If one switch fails, possibility of failure also high, because so many switches will be there in matrix converter, so we are losing reliability. Third one is a very simple configuration, conventional inverter. You convert DC into AC with bridge inverter, then you filter it, get a sinusoidal waveform, use a transformer to step up the voltage, connect to the grid. So for a microgrid implementation, this is more than sufficient. right? This is more than sufficient. Okay. So as I said, I will orient towards my students who are coming to work with me. If it's a power electronics, I have to study power electronics and orient myself. It's not so easy to learn power electronics for a power system student. So one of my student who joined for PhD with the power electronics background, he wanted to work on this. He wanted to give a new topology for this center multi-string microgrid, single phase microgrid, multi-string configuration, inverter with transformer. So we are narrowing down the problem, right? So in this inverter, what is the problem? I have 4 switches which are working with high frequency, S1, S2, S3, S4, and then I have a filter at the AC side. If I do not have filter, I get only pulses which cannot be fed to the transformer. I have to filter it properly before feeding it to the transformer. Otherwise I will have DC component flowing in this, which will saturate the magnetic core. So transformer will heat it up, the efficiency will go down. So I need to suitably design the filter and I need to control the 4 switches with high frequency. And we said already, transformer based inverters are having less efficiency because transformer is there. So he thought, I will do something on this power electronic side so that the efficiency will be brought nearer to the transformer less inverters. So when you want to do something here, I can reduce the switches or I can reduce the switching frequency so that switching losses can be brought down. Then the overall efficiency will be improved. I cannot do anything with the transformer to improve the efficiency. So he wanted to work on this side topology. So he tried to make 4 switches into 3 switches. 4 switches which are operating at high frequency into 3 switches. Among those 3 switches, only one switch will operate at high frequency, other 2 switches will operate at fundamental frequency. So number of switches reduced. Since switching frequency is reduced from high frequency to low frequency for 2 switches, switching losses will reduce. So we could improve the system efficiency nearer to transformer less inverter. So that inverter was named as S3 inverter. 3 switches. So S3 inverter, which is suitable for single phase microgrid. This also has a few drawbacks which I don't want to tell now. You can find out. Okay, you can go through this publication to get more on this S3 inverter. Anyway, I will tell you the operation as well as the design part of this now. S3 inverter. This is what the configuration. Okay, it looks like so many loop. As a teacher, I should tell you from where we got this idea and use. All of you may be teaching basic electrical engineering, where you teach rectifier, and we start with half wave rectifier, a transformer, then the secondary one diode, and then load, half wave rectifier. Then we will introduce slowly full wave rectifier. The first one is with center tap transformer based rectifier. A center tap transformer, and secondary we will have center tap, and one off cycle will flow through one diode and the load connected in the center tap. The second off cycle will flow through another diode and the load connected in the center tap. So now I get the full wave. Okay. So the idea we borrowed from that. Why don't I reverse that? Instead of the load, I will have a DC source at the center tap. And instead of diode, I will have an active switch. And when I operate one active switch, the direction of current will be in one direction. And when I operate another active switch, I will get another direction. So I will get a DC current flowing in the center tap transformer secondary in the opposite directions. That will be getting induced in the primary. But DC I cannot pass. So instead of DC, I have to make it into a time varying quantity. Okay. So now you forget about this complete diagram. Just think about this purple color and the red color. I have a center tap here. Assume that instead of this capacitor, I have a source here. The source is generating a fully rectified waveform. Understand? A fully rectified waveform. If I have that fully rectified waveform, one wave I will pass through this winding, I will step up. The second wave I will pass through this switch and this winding, I'll step up. Since I am passing through it in two different windings in two different directions, I will get a AC signal at the output. That is what the idea. I'll show the waveform. I will have a constant DC voltage. In any DC bus in a microgrid, I have a constant DC voltage. Some DC-DC converter will maintain the DC bus voltage constant. That is what I stressed when I talk about multi-string inverter system. I need to convert like this. Somehow, forget about that. If I am able to convert this steady DC into a time varying but DC, it is unidirectional. If I am able to convert this waveform into this, then easily I can convert this into an AC using this setup. Assume that 0 to pi, I switch on S1, I will switch off S2. And if this waveform is available across this, then this off cycle will be passed through this red color winding and the circuit will get closed like this. And since it is a transformer, I have a time varying voltage only. So that will be induced in the primary. According to turns ratio, I will get a higher voltage. And next, I will switch off S1 and switch on S2 for next pi to 2 pi. And since it is connected in this winding in the opposite direction current flows, I will get an induced EMF in the opposite direction. So I am getting an AC. So from this DC, I have converted into an AC signal. That is what DC to AC inverter is doing. But what is the requirement here? I need to make this wave in between. We are very good in the reverse way, right? We are very good in the reverse way. Center tap rectifier. If I give a full wave to you, you can use a center tap transformer based rectifier to get this waveform. And then you can use a capacitor to get the constant voltage. That is what we do in our second year BTech. Even in the laboratory. Same idea. we made into the reverse way. That's all. Take a constant DC voltage, convert this into this kind of waveform, and then use a center tap transformer concept to make it into this. So it is a transformer based inverter. Only modification is I want a center tap transformer. Center tap transformer manufacturing is not tedious. You have to take one tap at the middle of the primary winding. That's all, right? Okay. So now the challenge is, how do I get this waveform from the constant DC? So again, we looked into the literature. Is there any requirement, or is there any idea like this to convert this into this? Of course, we are very lucky to get a good literature from Professor P.C. Sen. He proposed a topology to convert this waveform into this waveform. Luckily, he stopped at that point. That's why we could publish paper by extending that. He gave a good topology, a simple buck converter, topology. Right? This is a buck converter. I have a DC, I have an active switch, L and C. Instead of load, I am having a transformer here. So I can have a load here, DC load. Right? So think that. So now I have to choose the switching pattern of this switch S, so that I will convert this into this waveform. So I have to vary the duty cycle of this switch in a sinusoidally varying fashion. Not only that, I have to tune this L and C properly so that I get this. If I just vary the duty cycle, I will get only the pulses here. That pulses should be converted into a pure waveform by choosing this L and C, which I can choose because in the normal inverter I have filter L and C. So same design we can do and make it here also. So that is made. So once it is done, if you look at the inverter, you are having only 3 switches. And you are having a transformer. Of course, I am having a transformer here also. And in the middle, I take the center tap, so it is not big deal. I have L and C. Here also I have an L and C. But here I have L and C at the AC side. Here I have L and C at the DC side. And if you commercially look into it, DC filters of same rating having less cost compared to AC filters. So cost wise, when you move filter from AC to DC side, the total cost comes down. And I have only 3 switches now, and 2 switches are operating in the fundamental frequency. So switching loss will come down, and only 1 switch which is operating at very high frequency. That is same as this switch, which is going to operate at high frequency. All the switches are operating at high frequency. So when I compare to this configuration, I am reducing one active switch. Instead, I am adding only one diode. That's all. All other things, same components, more or less, with less cost, with less loss. Okay. So this is the S3 inverter. So now how do I produce pulses for this? Firing pulses. That will be a challenging task, right? Again, we have to use some kind of controller to produce the firing pulse. So since the topology is also simple, we thought we should look for a simple way of producing firing pulses. Instead of going for a microcontroller or a DSP or FPGA processor, so many things. Why don't we look into a simple firing pulse generation circuit which will give this firing pulse? Because I need only one high frequency pulse, other 2 are fundamental frequency pulse. Like for a thyristor inverter, what I am going to use. Though it is a MOSFET switch, which is operating at only 50 Hertz. So we wanted to look into a very simple configuration. And okay, this is the design values. We chose 48 volt DC and we wanted to operate, the operating current is 0.5 to 50 ampere, so long range at the AC side current. I'm sorry, this is only for parameter of the DC-DC converter, right? So with the DC side current 0.5 to 50 ampere, and we can use the design parameters, design equations from this book, K. Marian and K. Zuck, pulse width modulated DC-DC power converters. We can borrow the equations from them to design, and anyway you need to do little tuning by doing simulation, because it will give only the L minimum and C minimum. If you put that value, it may not directly give you this waveform. You need fine tuning by doing some simulation studies. Fine tuning is done. After that we arrive at the L and C values like this: 250 microhenry and 220 microfarad. Getting a 250 microhenry is again challenging. You need to wind the inverter, wind the copper wire to get that much small value of inductance. Then switching pulse production. It is very, again, as I said, we wanted to concentrate on simple circuit, so we went for an op-amp circuit. We will not worry about so many things. Op-amp circuit, right? First of all, for an inverter I need a reference signal, so I need a reference signal generator. So I use an oscillator, sine oscillator, where I can mention the frequency so that I get the sinusoidal wave. So sine oscillator. In the autonomous mode, if it is a grid connected mode, I will give the grid voltage here. That's all. So a sine oscillator which can be built with op-amp. So once I have a sine wave, you give it to a zero crossing detector, again one op-amp, that will produce fundamental switching pulse, 50 Hertz. One directly and one using a NOT gate. So now I have got firing pulses for this S1 and S2. Paka. Only for S I need to generate a high frequency. So what I'll do, I take this sine wave oscillator, I rectify to get the full wave sine, because that is what I want to generate, right? That is what my reference waveform for generating switching pulses. So only thing here we use precision rectifier in order to avoid the drop which is happening in the diode of the rectifier. So precision rectifier is used. Again, this concept is forward from instrumentation. So precision rectifier is used here. Precision rectifier. We get this waveform. Again, you use a triangular generator. With an op-amp you can make a triangular wave oscillator that according to your frequency, say 1 Hertz or 2 Hertz you want, you generate the triangular wave. Compare with this wave, you will get a high frequency switching pulse. So by using only the op-amp and diode, we can make the firing circuit for this inverter. And we experimentally verified, and this is what the duty cycle variation which is given to the buck converter switch. Actually the high frequency pulse produced from this comparator is given here in this green color. By giving this pulse after the capacitor, we got this waveform in the buck converter, and this is the fundamental frequency waveform pulse produced. So once you have all these things, we'll be able to convert this AC, DC into AC, the center tap transformer. So when I build an inverter, when I want to sell it, I need to demonstrate it works with at least residential loads, not with simple resistance which is available in the laboratory. So we tried testing this with normal lighting load as well as fan load which we use in our residential building. So we tested with CFL lamp, incandescent lamps of different wattage, and a table fan load of 50 watt and 60 watt, a normal RL load which is available in the laboratory, and we tried. So why we chose 48 volt? 48 volt is the normal rooftop DC voltage people use, and the output is 230 volt single phase. This is the experimental setup available in the laboratory. Here you can see the normal fan load, Crompton Greaves fan which we use in our home is running, and you can see in this picture, maybe it is so dull because of the brightness. These are all glowing CFL lamps. We have incandescent lamps, and this is the S3 inverter setup. It's a normal load in the lab, R and RL loads, and the battery which is fed from a PV system, 48 volt. This is the experimental waveform. The voltage across the capacitor, then this is the voltage, AC voltage generated, and when a resistive load is connected, the load current follows the voltage in phase with the voltage. So it works with resistive load. First tick mark. Second, I want to test with an inductive load. So we have connected some inductance at the load side. We connected some inductance at the load side to make the current lagging. So now the current lags the voltage. It works with inductive, so it supplies both real and reactive power. Okay, second tick. Third one, I want to test the inverter with non-linear loads. Of course, CFL is a non-linear load. When you connect a CFL lamp and look at the waveform, you will see this kind of waveform. It is not sinusoidal. Okay, it is a polluting load, CFL. Though it is an energy saving load, power quality part, it is a polluting load. So we get a non-linear load experiment with CFL lamp. So now you can see the inverter works with a non-linear load. That is not only allowed, you need to check step response. So now the load current is made from around 1.5 ampere to 2.3 ampere. Sudden load change. Inverter did not face any problem in the voltage waveform. The load current has increased and it is following. So with the step change in load, it is working well. And we can see the harmonic spectrum of the voltage, which is having only 3% harmonics. And it works with the inductive load as well as capacitive load. You can see here inductance 0.99 power factor, I mean almost unity power factor. And here it is a capacitive leading power factor load. We connected some capacitance at the output and checked. So it is working. And the same thing can also be used as a grid tie inverter, grid connected operation, grid tie inverter. Only thing you need to understand this equation, which is very popular in power system, particularly power system stability studies, right? P equal to V into Vg by X into sine delta. So now I have a grid at one side. I have the inverter, S3 inverter at the other side. So I will introduce a reactance here. And if I want to control the power fed into the grid, I need to control the angle of this voltage generated by the inverter. That is what the idea. So even though the voltage magnitude remains same, if I change the phase angle, real power will be fed to the grid. I want to feed only real power because I am using a microgrid system. Reactive power, if grid needs reactive power support should be provided. Okay, I can frankly say, no, my inverter will not give you any reactive power support. I will give only real power because I want money. So for implementing that grid connected operation, the sinusoidal oscillator can be replaced with a potential transformer. So I can draw voltage from the grid and take it step down. In order to vary the phase angle, I need to use a phase shifting circuit. Right? So again, it can be made with the help of an op-amp, and I can have a variable resistance apart so that I can vary the phase angle. If I vary the phase angle, if I increase the phase angle, more power will be fed into the grid. All other circuit components and functionality remain the same. Only the sine wave is phase shifted by this phase shifting circuit. So with that, we could have a grid interactive inverter. So you can see here the power is fed to the grid, which can be seen here. So power fed to the grid is 160 watt when the angle is 5 degree. When the angle is changed to 10 degree, power fed to the grid is 210 watt. So 200 watt is fed into the grid with very less harmonics. Load current harmonics is only 1% and 2%, which is very well than the limit of IEEE standard. So grid connected operation is possible. And we tried with introducing sag and swell in the grid voltage. For that also, the inverter was working very well. There is no issue. And during this paper review, there was a lot of questions. Have you checked with dynamic change in load? Like we said, we tested with fan. No, fan load we did not change. So you speed variation, you do change in speed or change in magnitude. So we tried with all this evaluation in simulation studies, and we have given the result, but we did not do any load variation on the machine induction motor load dynamically. But of course it worked in simulation very well, so definitely it will work in the hardware part also. Right? So I stop at this point. If you have any clarification on this part, we can discuss. So to summarize in few words, I started with a microgrid, and where in a microgrid we need to have combination of sources and loads. When you have combination of sources, we need to think about the inverter system. I said there are 3 different configuration of inverter: multi-string, string, and centralized inverter system. I said for a microgrid configuration, multi-string inverter system is good, and in multi-string inverter we can use transformer based inverter or transformer less inverter. So we have to compare always, and based on our comparison we selected transformer based inverter, where the simple 4 switch bridge inverter is selected. We wanted to improve the system upon that, and we used some basic knowledge on the rectifier and op-amp circuits to build a S3 inverter, which works very well. But still I didn't tell you the drawback. One of the participants can imagine and tell me what is the drawback. So I stop at this point and I open for discussions.
Thank you, sir. We thank you for your presentation, sir, on inverter technologies. You have elaborated the differences between centralized inverter system and string inverter system, multi-string inverter system, review of inverter topologies, and grid tie operations. We thank you, sir. We thank you for your elaborative session. Dear participants, now it's open for queries. If you have any query, you can ask sir now. If you find any difficulties, you can type your query on the chat box. Answer will be given for that. Participants, now the session is open. Those who have queries can ask now.
Sir? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Yeah, so I just wanted to know, in which software did you did the simulations?
Simulation is done in MATLAB.
Okay, okay, so thank you.
Okay, if there are no questions, I will tell you the drawback of this S3 inverter and you can think working on that. As a teacher, I should not hide anything. So I am telling the drawback in this research. This S3 inverter, we failed in building three-phase configuration of this S3 inverter. Okay, that is the challenge we faced. We could not do. So somebody can try on that. It will be a good contribution. But of course, number of switches will increase if you use S3 configuration for three-phase. Already I have 3 into 3, 9 will come. Already bridge inverter is having only 6 switches. So that is the best configuration. So for three-phase, we can't go for S3 inverter. That is the drawback. Other than that, it works very well.
Participants, you can post your queries on the chat box too.
Dear participants, Dr. MP Selvam has came over here in spite of his busy schedule. He has shared his experiences and knowledge in this field. So kindly clarify your doubts to sir.
Hello, ma'am. Here chat box is not opened, ma'am.
Sir, kindly refresh yourself and you can talk with sir.
Okay, ma'am.
Meantime, you can refresh and access the chat box, sir. Meantime, you can ask the doubts with sir.
We thank Dr. MP Selvan sir for accepting our invitation and presented the topic on inverter technologies. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, madam. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I would like to acknowledge my students, Dr. Dasdagiri Reddy and Dr. Venkat Raman, who has contributed a lot for this work. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Dear participants, today's session's over. We will meet tomorrow morning at 9 for session 6.
And a kind request to the participants, kindly join at least 10 minutes before the commencement of the session, please.
Dear participants, today's session's over. We request you all to join tomorrow 9 a.m. for session 6. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kindly submit your feedback links.